Hey everybody, in today's episode, I want to go over some of the key highlights from yesterday's MetaConnect keynote. There's some interesting hardware and software releases that are coming up that I think you'll find pretty interesting. So with that said, I'll see you in the podcast. Did you know that about 95% of you haven't subscribed to this podcast? What are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, and let us know. It really helps. Thanks. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. Today, I want to go over some of the key highlights from yesterday's MetaConnect keynote. There were some pretty interesting hardware and software announcements that I think are pretty relevant. Obviously, this has been in the news past couple days. You can Google it anywhere, but I want to give some of my own thoughts and input on it. So I'm going to go here first to ChatGPT, and because basically I started off thinking in my old school thinking, I have to scroll around the internet and find what these key highlights are and do a bit of Googling. But it occurred to me, I'll just ask ChatGPT and get the highlights and let's see what comes up. So what were the top 5 key highlights of yesterday's MetaConnect keynote? And searching. And here they are. So, first one, Meta Quest 3S unveiled. The new Meta Quest 3S was officially announced with a more affordable option in Meta's mixed reality lineup. Starting at $299, it maintains a similar functionalities as the Quest 3, but with key differences in storage and display. Next one, which was really interesting, is the Orion AR glasses. So, Meta showcased the prototype for Orion AR glasses, which aims to be the most advanced AR device yet. These glasses feature new display architecture and wrist-based neural controls, enabling immersive mixed reality experiences. Now, if you remember, if you've been following Meta's keynotes over the past years, I think they did sort of a 10-year plan quite some time ago, where they sort of talked about these, or Mark Zuckerberg basically just announced that, their key goal for the next 10 years back then was to have a normal set of mixed reality devices that looked like a pair of Ray-Bans that you put on your face. And so yesterday, he basically showed the sort of internal dev kit prototypes of where this is going. And it looked like it worked, basically. You can go out and Google it yourself. You see all kinds of product demos. He got a whole bunch of influencers to come in who were privileged enough to check these out, like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example. Anyway, everybody's putting them on, showing how amazing they are. But unfortunately, these won't be out for a while because, as Mark said, they're basically way too expensive at this point to put out as a commercial product. And he wanted to basically improve the visual quality of some things. So I'm all for that. Looking forward to these coming out. As he said, there's a normal pair of glasses. They're really thick, obviously, but, you could see there was some technology going on in the lenses. There's some sort of, new futuristic way in which they're projecting the stuff in the lenses. So excited about that. And also the neural wrist controller that they use to control this, because, one of the use cases, obviously, with any of these devices is, especially with voice, is you're announcing to the world all the interaction that you want, which nobody really wants if you're doing this on a subway or something. And 2, nobody wants to see people walking around going like this with their hands trying to control things, looking like a crazy person. So they solved that use case with a neural controller, which is just a wrist band with some technology in it that you can, do things with your hand and with your, controller that really allows a much more it seemed like a much more seamless sort of interaction experience, which I think is really cool. So really looking forward to seeing where these Orion glasses go. The Meta Quest 3S, we brought the price point down to $299, which I think is a decent price point for any kind of these devices. It's in the same price point as an inexpensive smartphone. So I think this is where things should be going. This is, when I got into VR, a long time ago, I really sort of jumped the gun in thinking how slow this kind of tech was going to evolve. When I first put on the first Oculus headset, I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is going to change in a couple years. Everything's going to be completely different. But, it obviously took almost 14, 15, I don't know how many years since the first Oculus came out, to get to this point where we still don't have a normal set of glasses that is going to do everything we want them to do in a mixed reality experience. So this stuff still has probably, I'd say, he didn't say how many years it's going to take for this stuff to come out, but it's going to be in the future before we get to that point, obviously. But the MetaQuest 3S is a good example of an inexpensive, very powerful experience to put on your head to get VR and mixed reality. So things are starting to merge into a price point where this is easily accessible by everybody. Now, the value and the use case for what people need this for, that still hasn't been addressed. And as you know, probably if you've been following this podcast used to be called AR/VR Magazine. I did a lot of focus on immersive technology only because at the time, I really thought this tech was going to evolve a lot faster than it did, but it's really taking a long time and really struggling to see very concrete sort of business use cases for why people want this stuff other than just immersive gaming or, being able to have real world, wear them all day kind of utility use cases. And so I think we're starting to get there, but we still have some time to go. So for me, I want to touch on this tech because I know a lot of people who follow this podcast still are in the AR/VR Magazine mindset. They want immersive tech to be talked about. But for me, I will touch on it, I guess, when it becomes relevant for the broader sort of creator space, for how people are using technology in their daily lives and using it to express themselves creatively and in a business case. So long tangent, but anyway, I guess you could see where this is going. But I think we're starting to get there. But again, immersive tech is just one part of the big picture of how we engage with technology. I'm talking on a microphone into my computer, into different types of hardware. I'm using my phone as a camera. I used AI, which is embedded on my computer, embedded in the phone. And so this sort of, it's very broad and these multiple touch points that still haven't merged into one experience, which I'm hoping in the future will just be this, you know what I mean? Or even contact lenses at some point. I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime, it's seemingly, but I think we're going to start getting there soon. And then I think we're going to have to start thinking of the use cases for how that becomes more valuable to everybody on a daily basis. But Meta is showing that they're getting to that point, which is the next topic here, which is the Ray-Ban smart glasses updates. And I haven't tried these out myself, but they have partnered with Ray-Ban and they do have some features as a camera in them, and they have some new updated features, which I think that's going to start to merge. These Orion glasses and the Ray-Ban glasses and whatever glasses we're going to have are going to be becoming more merged into more seamless experiences. I think MetaQuest, they teased some things which were sort of, these different sort of portals you can walk through to get to other types of, whether it's games or experiences. And I think we're still missing that sort of seamless, sort of open source, immersive, met with the AI, met with the hardware, sort of all-encompassing experience. So again, it's still very fragmented, but it's starting to merge into much more unified experience. Next topic here, new to Meta AI features. So Meta introduced a host of AI updates, including new celebrity voice AI assistant featuring John Cena and others, as well as AI-driven tools for translating and photo editing. So with that said, let's jump on to the final point here. Llama 3.2 release, Meta available Llama 3.2, the latest iteration of its AI model supporting new multimodal capabilities, which again, I can't access here, so I can basically only assume that it's super awesome stuff. Some of the features in terms of value for creators, at least not in Germany, but in other places, there's this real-time translation sort of thing that's going on with some of the features in Instagram, for example. You'll be able to have real-time translation on your reels, I think, if I understand it correctly. So I can make a reel in English and somebody in another country can watch it in their language, and it's real-time translation, and the voices change, and I think the mouth changes and stuff. We've seen that on some other AI platforms, but this being baked into the actual content is a pretty cool thing. I'm not sure of the full extent of how that will be implemented, but I think if we see that coming soon in terms of for content creators, this is really cool to be able to reach new audiences. I hope it rolls out as seamlessly as they sort of tease it to be, but I think that's a really cool feature that will be coming up. So I think overall, all the value that I've seen, that's probably one of the most valuable for creators, at least at this point, is the ability to have AI affecting the content that you make, so it appeals to a broader audience. So I think that's really cool. Anyway, just wanted to share some thoughts, and let me know your thoughts on it. I'm curious to hear your input on these things. Like I said, I have mixed feelings on immersive tech, mixed reality tech. I still think it has a long way to go, but I think mixed with AI elements, we're starting to see things come together in interesting places and in affordable places. So that was for me, that was the most interesting takeaway and the most valuable takeaway from this whole thing is, and also I guess I want to comment on, Mark Zuckerberg seems like really, really loose these days with how he announces this stuff. We've seen keynotes that were very scripted and very well produced, and everything was very tight and very specific and very high budget, high production quality. And now it's just like Mark comes out and says, yeah, here's some stuff. This is kind of teasers and stuff where it's going. And I guess it concerns me a little bit about also, I appreciate him just being very transparent on all this stuff, especially with his approach to making AI open source, because I think that's, again, I agree with him. That's really where this stuff needs to be. I had an interesting discussion one time with Mark Zuckerberg a long time ago when I worked for a telecom company in the States. I had a phone call with Mark and his team about it was a long time ago, this is before iPhones came out, it was about getting Facebook on that particular platform. And at the time, Facebook had just come out, and Mark's comments was like, yeah, well, we don't really know much about mobile. So we're interested to hearing more about this from you. And so I got a sense a long time ago even that he was very sort of open and transparent with his curiosity and his need to position. And this was kind of a hint for me in terms of just a little hint at that sort of old sort of curiosity that he had from before, in terms of really just wanted to be transparent. And this is where we're going, and share stuff, and not take it too seriously, and just let everybody know so we can all kind of go in that direction. And I think that's a really sort of refreshing way to present things, especially from a large tech company. I think making everything, all this pomps and circumstances, this is the thing, and we've spent a lot of marketing money to define this thing. But I think with tech that is so rapidly evolving, I think it's refreshing that he is approaching this in a way that's like, hey, this is the stuff, and we're moving that direction. This is the way things need to go, and this stuff is broken. This stuff's not working properly. This is what we want to change. But I think I like to see that from tech CEOs, that openness and that sort of freedom to be messy. You know what I mean? Not spend so much time on stuff, because I think you have to be agile, you have to be fast, you have to be iterative, and you really have to address things as it comes up without spending all this time planning. Just like this podcast right now, I'm riffing, I'm getting my thoughts out because I need to be timely, I need to be relevant. And I think a lot more people are going to have to be that way if they want to be relevant. And if they want to be honest and they want to be transparent about tech that is constantly changing on a daily basis. So, just kind of my 2 cents on this whole thing. My key takeaways, obviously, as I've shared, the new tech, but again, in the approach in which we communicate new tech, I think is just as important. So, something to think about, just kind of spinning stuff off the top of my mind. I'd like to hear your input on it. Any feedback, feel free to let me know. Send me a text, send me an email, send me a comment in some of the platforms that I post this on. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So this is Sean Early, and thank you for joining me in the podcast, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Did you know that about 95% of you haven't subscribed to this podcast? What are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, and let us know. It really helps. Thanks.